It's a Tuesday night, almost 11, and you're sitting at the kitchen table with your laptop open to a brokerage screen you've been staring at for 40 minutes. The transfer cleared this morning, $10,000. It's the most money you've ever had in one place that wasn't already spoken for by rent or a car payment or somebody else's emergency. You took screenshots when it landed because part of you didn't believe it. You closed the tab. You opened it again. Now the cursor is blinking inside a search bar, and you're supposed to type something, and you don't know what. You spent years being told to save this money. Nobody told you what happens next. There's no celebration. There's no confetti. There's just a number sitting in an account, and a vague feeling that if you do the wrong thing in the next 10 minutes, you'll undo 5 years of doing the right thing. And here's the part that doesn't add up. You finally have the money. So why does the moment after feel worse than the moment before? This is Rocket Finance. In the next few minutes, I'm going to walk you through exactly what happens after your first $10,000 lands. The math, the accounts, the order of operations, and the trap most people don't see coming. If that's useful, hit subscribe so the next one finds you. No hard sell. Just stay if it's working. Let's name something first. The reason you feel paralyzed isn't because you're financially illiterate. It's because the entire industry that's supposed to help you decide what to do with this money makes its money based on what you decide. SmartVestor Pros, advisors, brokerages, robo-advisors, the apps with the confetti animations, they're not neutral parties. The Ramsey Network, by their own disclosure, is a paid promoter of the pros they refer you to. Brokerages like Robinhood, Acorns, and SoFi offer matching incentives on IRAs specifically to capture your account. None of this means any of them are bad. It means the person telling you what to do with your first $10,000 has a financial stake in the answer. You are a rational person trying to navigate a system where every signpost is also an advertisement. That's not your failure, that's the design. So, let's strip the noise out and talk about what the math actually says. Step 1 is brutally simple, and almost every credible source agrees on it. Before that, $10,000 goes into the market, you check for high-interest debt. NerdWallet calls this a precondition. Vanguard treats it as assumed. The Ramsey framework builds the entire philosophy around it. The reason is arithmetic, not morality. The average credit card APR right now sits around 22.25%. The long-term average annual return of the S&P 500 is somewhere between 10 and 12%. If you invest $10,000 at 11% while carrying $5,000 in credit card debt at 22%, you are mathematically losing money every month you stay in that position. You're earning interest with one hand and paying twice as much interest with the other. So before anything else, if there's high-interest debt sitting in your life, that $10,000 has a job, and it's not the brokerage screen. Picture a 31-year-old project manager in Columbus earning $72,000 a year who finally saves $10,000 while still carrying $4,600 on a Chase card at 24% APR. She opens the brokerage app first because that's the dream. The math doesn't care about the dream. Paying that card off is a guaranteed 24% return. There is no index fund on earth that competes with that. Assuming the debt is handled and you've got a real emergency cushion, most sources land on 3 to 6 months of expenses sitting in a high-yield savings account. Now the $10,000 actually goes to work. And the order matters more than the asset. The first dollar should chase a match. If you have a 401k at work and your employer matches some percentage of your contributions, typical ranges are 50 to 100% of what you put in, up to 3 to 6% of your salary. That match is a 100% instant return on the matched portion. Nothing else in this video will beat that number. The catch, as NerdWallet points out, is that you usually can't dump a lump sum into a 401k. So the move is mechanical. Park the $10,000 in savings, crank your paycheck contribution up to capture the full match, and let the $10,000 backfill your paycheck while the match flows in. You're essentially routing the money through your employer to pick up free dollars on the way. After the match, the next stop for most people is an IRA. The contribution limit for 2026 is $7,500, or $8,600 if you're 50 or older. $10,000 is enough to max it. The choice between traditional and Roth comes down to one question: do you think your tax rate will be higher now or in retirement? If you're early in your career and your income will likely rise, Roth tends to win because you pay the tax now at a lower rate and pull the money out tax-free later. If you're at peak earnings already, traditional often wins because you take the deduction now. A 26-year-old software engineer in Austin making $90,000 opens a Roth IRA, drops $7,500 in, and puts the remaining $2,500 into a regular taxable brokerage account. That's it. That's the whole move. It took her about 11 minutes once she stopped reading Reddit threads. Now, inside whichever account you pick, you still have to choose what to actually buy, and this is where most people freeze again. The honest answer, the one Vanguard, NerdWallet, and almost every serious source converges on, is low-cost, broadly diversified index funds or ETFs that track something like the S&P 500 or a total market index. Not individual stocks. Not the thing your cousin texted you about. A basket that owns hundreds or thousands of companies at once, charges you almost nothing, and matches the market instead of trying to beat it. Boring. Effective. The backbone of most retirement accounts in America for a reason. And here's where compounding stops being a poster on a wall and starts being real. Vanguard uses a 6% example. 10,000 at 6% grows to about 10,600 in year 1. The next year, that 6% is calculated on 10,600, not 10, so you earn $36 more than the previous year. By year 20, your annual gain alone is over $1,800, and the balance is more than triple what you started with. Ramsey runs a more aggressive example. 10,000 at 10% left alone for 40 years becomes over $452,000. Same 10 grand. The only variable is time and the discipline to not touch it. The Ben and Joey example from the Ramsey material is worth sitting with for a second. Ben invests $2,400 a year from age 21 to 30, then stops. Total contribution, $21,600. Joey starts at 30 and contributes $2,400 a year until 67. Total contribution, $88,800. At 67, Ben has over $2.1 million. Joey has 1.2. Ben put in roughly a quarter of what Joey did and ended up with almost $1 million more. The 9 years he started earlier did all the work. Time is the asset. The money is just the vehicle. So if the math is this clear, why do smart people still freeze at the brokerage screen? Or worse, do something they regret? There's a behavioral pattern called lifestyle inflation, and it's the thing that quietly eats most first-time investors alive. It works like this. You spent years living on less than you made to save this 10,000. Your brain associates that frugality with sacrifice. The moment the money lands, there's a psychological pressure to reward yourself, to upgrade something, the car, the apartment, the vacation that's been on hold. And separately, when your income rises, your spending tends to rise with it almost automatically. Researchers who study household finance have documented this pattern for decades. The margin between what you earn and what you spend stays roughly the same no matter how much more you make, because the spending floor moves up to meet the new ceiling. What this means for your 10,000 is subtle. It's not that you'll blow the whole thing on a watch. It's that you'll find a reason to pull 2,000 out for something reasonable, then another 1,500 next year for something else reasonable. And because the money is liquid in a brokerage account, it feels available in a way a 401k doesn't. Vanguard ran a comparison on this. 10,000 at 6% left alone for 20 years grows roughly 22,000 in earnings. The same 10,000 with the earnings withdrawn each year grows only 12,000. You don't lose the money to a bad decision, you lose it to 100 reasonable ones. So back to you, 11 at night, kitchen table, cursor blinking. The reason that moment felt heavier than you expected is that you are treating it like a decision about an investment. It's actually a decision about a system. Pay off the high-interest debt first. Capture the employer match, fill the IRA, park the rest somewhere boring and broad. Then close the laptop and do not open it again for a very long time. Here's the plain takeaway. Your first 10,000 doesn't need to be clever. It needs to be protected from you, from fees, and from the next 10 years of your own good reasons to touch it. You're not behind. You're not late. You're standing at the start of the only part of this that actually matters, which is time. The financial industry isn't designed to tell you that, because there's no product to sell at the end of that sentence. But the math is the math. Ben beat Joey by starting 9 years earlier with a quarter of the money. The version of you sitting at that table tonight is Ben, if you let it be. If this helped, subscribe and like the video so the next one shows up when you need it. This has been Rocket Finance.